Hey everybody, welcome back to day 4 of your 7-day serve challenge. It's your totally obsessed tennis coach, Pete, and I am so excited to teach you how to serve 100 miles per hour today. I'm going to give you all the fundamentals you need to focus on to be able to hit a serve 100 miles an hour plus. So especially if you're in range, if you are around that 85 mile an hour mark, if you follow these steps, there's a chance you could hit 100 miles an hour. Now if you're below that, these tips are still going to help you. So let's say your hand serves 65 miles an hour. Wouldn't you like to hit it 75 miles an hour? If you follow the steps, it is possible, especially if you use your video asks. Speaking of video ask, here is the challenge of the day. Go on video. You have to do it on video or audio, and audio will be fine as well, and say, I have a need for speed. That is the challenge. Just come on video. You're entered into the raffle if you just do that simple little task, and you will be eligible to win Jorge Capestani's tennis strategy book, which teaches you how to beat basically any player out there. So it's really awesome. Okay, so let's get into this video. What I want to do is go right to our inspirational videos of some of the best servers of all time. We're going to take a look at them, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to take you step by step what they're doing to hit such massive serves. If you're ready, let's get started.
Okay, welcome. What we're going to look at right now is we're going to look at 3 of the biggest and best power servers with beautiful technique of all time. We're taking a look at Pete Sampras right now. Take a look. I like how he also starts with his leg up, right? His toe pointed up, and then he's going to come down here. Now notice, he's down here with his racket down low, all right? He's already building a beautiful tilt. Wait till you see how awesome this tilt is. Sampras, one of my favorite servers, if not my most favorite server. Take a look where he's releasing that ball, about the nose or the eyes. Now, he starts to get into the elbow the enemy move. His wrist is in that nice, loose, relaxed position there, if you can't tell. I'm telling you it is. Right now, even though we don't have a good view of it, you can kind of see he's in the power L position. That's where his arms are. Elbowing the enemy, power L position. Insane tilt. Insane tilt. Look at his body here. Beautiful, beautiful position. Racket getting into the secret power source at this point. All the things that we're covering to have a big serve. We can see that the stance wide like we talked about, so his chest is facing back to the fence. All essentials in my mind to have a monster serve, or at least it puts the odds heavily in your favor. Again, now he's holding in secret power source. His knees are about as bent as they can possibly be. Look at the arm. It's as straight up as it can possibly be. Everything's in perfect position. Right now at this point, guys, I'm telling you, he's thinking about racket head speed, and he's thinking about lifting these legs up and exploding. So right now is the point where you're going to start to see the racket start to go into the racket drop. See that? Okay, now you can see his legs have already started to take off. He's coming here. The racket cannot hit the tennis ball yet. Like I was telling you guys, if he used to look up at his hand, he would see his thumbnail at this point. And then as he's coming, boom, the racket's hitting the ball, flips out with a pronation. He's not really thinking about that though, guys. He's not thinking about that. And then the landing. All right, let's take a look at another amazing server. Next up, Serena Williams, in my mind, one of the most beautiful serves of all time. What I love too, notice she also has her toe up in the beginning. Weight leaning towards the back. So she's got her weight getting ready to go back. Watch this toss and the wonderful tilt she's getting herself into. Okay, so she's getting herself into a deep tilt. Look at what we can really see. Let me blow this up here. Can you see the nice relaxed wrist? So she's holding it really loose at this point. So that wrist is nice and relaxed in a deep tilt. Now she's getting ready. She's basically come up right now into the secret power source. Let's see, we get a little further away. And then, boom. So now she's leaving secret power source. The legs are bent. She's now thinking about going into the racket drop. Now she's deep into that racket drop. And look at that extension. Look at that reach. So right here at this point, we can see her racket is on edge. There's no way she can hit that ball right now. And then in one frame, it happens so fast. Now she's obviously hitting the tennis ball. Full extension. Notice where her arm is. It's let me make sure I have the right drawing tool for you guys. It is out this way, okay? It's not too close into her ear like I see a lot of recreational players when they send me their videos. So you're swinging out and through, and then look at that nice, relaxed finish. That's another thing I like to point out. Basically coming into the ice cream scoop finish. So what she's hitting here is a power slice serve that Halep cannot get back. One more inspirational video, and then we'll hit the court. Okay, now Andy Roddick, we're going to see, has a completely different wind-up than our first two awesome professionals. So he's not going to drop down like Serena dropped down and like Sampras dropped down. Notice they would come down here, and then they'd go up into the secret power source. Roddick doesn't mess around. He just goes straight up with both arms. So you might want to try this. This, for some people, will be easier, and for some people will be harder. One thing I want you to notice, though, right away, look at the wrist. That is by design, not by accident. You see how his wrist is kind of relaxed there? You see that position, how he's got his wrist in that position as he's coming up? Okay? And now, boom, he's got the biggest secret power source out of anybody I've really analyzed. Look at how that racket right here, leaning right there. He's getting ready to release the ball, basically a little bit, I guess, around his eye position. Lets go of that ball, gets deeper into the secret power source, and now he's going to get himself in one of the most insane tilts I've ever seen in my life. Okay, so obviously this is a freak athlete here. Look at this. I call this the windy tree because it's like the wind is coming and blowing Andy Roddick backwards. All right? Now, look at how deep he gets there. Legs, look at the deep knee bend. Look how long he's holding the racket in secret power source. Hold it there longer again than really anybody I've ever really analyzed. Now his legs are pretty much as bent as they can be, I think. Who knows? He might even go further down. But at this point, I bet you he's thinking about, okay, now it's time to get the racket at speed going, Andy, and get those knees shooting up towards the tennis ball. All right? He goes a little deeper, but you can see he's starting to think about going forward. Now he's dropping that racket head. Notice he's probably the most delayed with dropping the racket head. He really holds it the longest. That's why he has one of the biggest serves ever. As he's coming through here again, we see he's into the hatchet move. And the ball cannot be struck. At this point, if he were to look up at his hand, he would see his thumbnail. That's what's so powerful about the 7-day serve challenge. I cover every tiny detail. And now he's hitting. Boom. Pronating out. Not thinking about that, guys. Don't worry about it. Andy Roddick's not thinking about it, so you don't need to either. And then, poof, he lands. And nice and relaxed. Let's hit the court.
Let's get right into what's going to move the needle the most for the majority players out there watching this video. Now, the kinetic chain, guys, is a real thing. Power does build from the ground up, and we're going to get to the ground soon, but what we're going to start with is the upper body, the arm. You've heard of pitchers having million-dollar arms. That is absolutely true. If you've got the right mechanics with your serving motion, with your arm, you can hit massive serves, and that's going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. If you build up perfectly from the ground in your rhythm and everything in your flow, and then your arm motion isn't right, the whole kinetic chain is going to break down. The most important thing is have those awesome fundamentals with your arms. So that's what we're gonna focus on. See, if I basically take my legs out of it, but I've got really good arm motion, I can still hit a pretty good serve. And the key is to have a nice whipping motion into the ball. So that's what we're gonna focus on, some drills to give us that nice snap and whip into that. If you can do that well, you can hit big serves even without jumping. And some of you are probably in a stage of your life where you're like, I can't really jump anymore. That's okay, you can still have a massive serve. You can still hit the fence on one bounce. Some of those practice serves I just hit for you, and those were the first serves I hit of the day, were actually bouncing the box and hitting the fence. So it's all about this right here, having a live arm, as Will Hamilton said, and Dr. Mark Kovacs, I totally agree with them. So let's get started. So guys, I'm gonna teach you end run drills at the same time. And I don't care what level player you are, if you do these drills, they're gonna help you. In fact, I've been doing this drill for quite a while, and I actually recently just ran into a video with Patrick Meritoglu. I don't think I say his name right, but he coached Serena, now is Tsitsipas. Basically, he coaches half of the pro tour on the men's and women's side, and he's making a lot of great videos lately. And he had one of his really awesome players. Guy's clearly a top-level junior. He might have been a pro player. He was talking about the importance of getting a nice snap, a nice whip on the ball, and he brought the kid up to the service box here, basically right on top of the net, and had him spiking the ball over the fence. So this is the first thing you're gonna do, and actually I'm gonna go on the other side to do this because I realize I'll be losing these balls in the woods. So make sure you do this in a way where you can basically recover your tennis balls when you go to do this. But the key that we're gonna start out with, and that's why it's important that you don't miss any steps, is you're gonna start out in the secret power source. Very, very important. The secret power source, and then I'm going to steal a great tip from one of my favorite instructors, Jeff Saldenstein. Also, elbowing the enemy. Make sure that the elbow, and remember how I had that drill the other day where I basically placed a little tennis ball right there on my elbow, right there, to get myself in secret power source and to get me into the power L position. So we need to be in the power L position, which is basically making an L with your arm, and then you go into that tilt. That's gonna be important. So again, it's so important to make sure you're watching each and every day so none of these tips I'm giving you are flying over your head, because all these tips have already been given throughout the week. So every day builds on each other. So what I'm doing is, the key to this is to get into a power L position. Make sure I'm elbowing the enemy. Make sure you're gonna pretend someone's coming to attack you, and you're gonna make sure that you hit them, bam, like that. So that is so important, because one of my students, I just had them part of Next Level University where they can send me videos. He was trying this, but he kept his power L on this side, on the hitting side of his body, and then he couldn't really get any power. It's a lot of work, no power. That's why this elbowing the enemy is such a great tip. And notice I'm also in the secret power source, the power L. I get myself in the tilt. Now I'm gonna spike it into the ground here, but I'm not gonna hit over the fence. So I gotta have a little bit of touch, because this is kind of easy for me to do. So I'm coming here, and I basically want to spike it down into the box. This is your first exercise to be able to get that 100-mile-an-hour serve. And what this is doing is really teaching you how to whip, how to snap your wrist, as they say, into the ball. But you're not actually necessarily snapping your wrist, but we're not gonna get into all that stuff, but it's gonna give you that whipping, snapping feel. Many of you are gonna struggle, and you're going to keep hitting your serve long. You're gonna keep hitting the ball past the box. This is because a couple of things. Number one is your whipping and snapping rhythm isn't quite as developed as mine, and a lot of you are gonna be tossing the ball too low or behind you, so make sure that tosses out in front. You wanna toss it out in front, and then basically what you wanna do is badoom, like that. What you wanna pretend is that you've got a basketball and you've gotta dunk it right over the rim. You're basically dunking it right down in the rim. That's gonna give you that nice feeling of pronation as well. Look at that finish right there. Bata, like there. So secret power source, and get that nice bata motion, and you can really spike it down. You can see that those balls are going right in the box, going super high. If I put a little more energy into it, I'm popping those balls over the fence. And so don't be afraid to bash them over the fence if you've never done it before. Just make sure that you go chase them. I'm not going to do it today because I don't want to hit into the woods, and I feel like I'm on a roll with this video, so we're just going to keep going. So that is your first exercise. Come on up here. Make sure you get nice and warmed up this way. You don't have to go super hard in the beginning. Just get it doesn't even have to be hitting the ball that fast. It's just getting that feeling of that snap. You see that? I'm not particularly swinging that hard for my ability. It's very easy right off the gate to just start popping that thing. Just start popping that thing down into the box. And if you see the ball going down and high, you know you got it right. If you see the ball going low and long, you got it wrong. If it's going low and long, you got it wrong. Your ball should be going high, right off, right there. The key to having a really good serve is I always like to think of the serve like a whip. And so you see this basket right here. If I'm super close to it and I've got a whip in my hand, I go like this, I'm not gonna really crack the basket. The further I move away, now I can start to really crack the basket. It goes whoosh, as it hits the basket. Now if you feel you have that going well, you can back up to the service line and try and do the same thing. Another thing I want you to think about, I just showed you the whip example, so I'm gonna give you the timing here. You've got to start thinking about cracking the whip pretty early into the motion. So I'm gonna basically call out when I think about the snap coming. So I'm coming here and whip. See that? I'm calling out whip well before I hit the tennis ball. And you can see when I do that, I'm crushing that serve. Here we go. I'm gonna go again, secret power source, and whip. Whoops. Got to keep my head up. I had the whip, but I dropped the head, so it went in the net. So keep the head up and whip. And you see we're hitting that fence. Another thing to hit even bigger serves is now I'm going to give more emphasis from secret power source into the tilt. So I'm going to focus also on the tilt. So that's the next thing. Once we start getting this going pretty well, I want you to think about the tilt. One other thing as you're up here, remember how we talked earlier in the week about the wrist being weak and loose, okay? So you want to pretend like the wrist is kind of like a cobra, it's getting ready to snap. So look at it this way, kind of make this type of shape in your hand and think about it really whipping. It's like curling in and then whoosh, releasing, snapping, okay? Really striking the ball. That's how you're gonna get that feeling. And so you see I've got that here. I've got my cobra wrist ready. We're gonna have a couple positions where we're really focused on the wrists. Certainly secret power source is one of them. You wanna be nice and relaxed up here, not holding the racket tight. Okay, so I'm gonna get here. Now I'm also gonna focus more on the tilt and see if I can get a bigger serve. More in that tilt and snap, okay? Really focus on the tilt, whip. And you can see already they're feeling better for me. Once you get that down, now you're gonna come back. If you have a blue line, you're gonna do it the blue line, and then next we're gonna go to the baseline. So that is your fence challenge. See how far back you can go and still hit the fence. So you can see I got the first two targets down. I can get the blue one easy. I think you guys know that. Now we're gonna go back to the baseline, see if we can also hit the fence with our serve. See if I can even hit it without jumping. So if you guys remember on day one, I went through 12 key serve fundamentals. And I think number 2 was the wrist. And I show you that Federer down here had the wrist nice and relaxed. So for some of you that are gonna go, well, I don't wanna do the Andy Roddick method. I mean, right now you pretty much have been learning the Andy Roddick method in our first couple of drills where he would just basically come here and right in the secret power source. A lot of players though, prefer to have some sort of rhythm down and then up. So if you prefer that, what I'm going to do is we're going to start out in that key fundamental number 2, pretending that we're Roger Federer, being nice and loose here, and then we're going to, as we go to toss, then we start to bend the legs. We're not even going to jump yet, but you can see, look how I get more and more relaxed too. Look at how loose and relaxed the wrist is in this position. Take a look at that. And then you want to barely be holding the racket, and also the lower you can hold it on the handle, you're using that handle as leverage, you're getting that pop. So you notice we're focused mostly on we're focused mostly on the arm today. Right now, we're gonna incorporate the legs here in a second, but right now we're just gonna try that Roger Federer move, come here and whip that serve. Try it again. I gotta stay up, I gotta get more in the tilt. I'm gonna come here and whip, okay? And we can see right there, it's a cold day, guys. These balls are like rocks, which means they don't bounce much. It's about 37 degrees. And I'm on the ground, serving it in the box, hitting the fence, okay, with freezing cold balls. So that goes to show that if you do the fundamentals right, you can get nice pop on the ball. So now the next thing I'm gonna go into is, so you can practice this for a while if you like to be down here and practice on the ground. The next thing we're gonna do is now we're gonna start to focus on the legs. Now we're gonna focus on the legs. And what I'm gonna do with the legs is, it's so important, the most important thing for the kinetic chain with the legs is, when does the racket drop come? If the racket drop comes too early, see if my legs are here and I'm in the racket drop and now I go to bend and I go to serve, I'm gonna have weak serves. I'm not gonna have a big serve. If I come here, right, I go into my bend, racket drop, weak serves. A lot of recreational players do this. The racket drop timing is dictated by the legs driving up. So the drill we're gonna do is called the stop, go drill. And so what I'm gonna tell myself before we even go and jump into the serve, I want to stop and stay still with my racket and secret power source. Now you can build in the hesitation down here if you want, or you can build it up here. I'll show you both. But basically, I'm saying to the ball, when it goes up and stops in the air, I'm gonna call it stop. And my racket better be still when I call stop, okay? So the racket's gotta stay quiet. So let's start with it down here, the built-in hesitation. I'm gonna go stop. See that? Now I'd have a tremendous amount of whip to go through if I did this. So I'm here, stop. And notice how the racket's nice and quiet. So this is gonna force a lot of racket head speed. And the timing gets harder, but especially for people like Zverev, he kind of does this motion. Stop, right? I'll show you, you can still hit the ball. You can still catch up by doing this. Go. See that? You see what I just did there? You see I replaced my stop with go. So that's the timing. So once you see the ball stop, then you know it's time to start thinking about your legs driving up and the racket head goes full steam ahead. I prefer, and it's going to be much easier timing for everybody, even if you're going to have a wind up, to do this drill again in secret power source, to where again you're just calling out stop and stop. Notice how my legs are bending. Stop. I'm going in the tilt, bending, stopping. Then when I want to hit the ball, I'm going to call out go. This is called the stop go drill. It's the best for timing with your leg drive and your racket drop. The best drill I've come up with. Everybody I work with, especially in person, which I'm making sure they're doing it right, starts absolutely crushing serves. So I'm gonna be here, and now I'm gonna start jumping in the serve. I'm gonna do my step up and bam, but you do not have to jump into the serve to do this, okay? So you don't need to jump in order to do this and get a lot of nice pop, but I'm gonna start jumping into it. So here we go, guys. I'm gonna be here, and go. Okay, so you can see that serve moving pretty big. I'll do it again. And go. Got to snap early to get in the box. There we go. And go. Okay, that was a pretty big serve right there. See, I hit the line, crushed into the fence. So this is a drill you want to be thinking of. I even think I called out go a little early because again, I'm thinking of that whip. But that moment, you're going to see some pros, the rackets drop even before the legs go up, but it's kind of that moment that you're thinking about releasing up is when you're going to be having everything go full steam ahead. Just like that last serve is a pretty good example. I might have called out go a little too soon, but I was thinking of really attacking the ball and whipping it, and that's why I had such a good result with that. So make sure that you go through and you do all these exercises. Remember, we also have an at-home training for power as well. which I definitely recommend you do so that you can develop that awesome serve. Remember, I've told you the stories about the Williams sisters, the actresses who never even hit a tennis ball and they still look like pros because they did a ton of shadow strokes. So do not take the at-home training for granted and skip it. If you really want to get a great serve, you need to do every single thing we're doing on every day and rinse and repeat. Again, that's why I strongly recommend that Lifetime Access Pass, because if you do this, it's built to be the perfect practice template. So if you want all this stuff, it's there for you. Now, the next thing we're gonna do tomorrow is we're starting to work on my favorite serve that I think should be your #1 serve to develop, and that is the slice. So if you want a slice serve, tomorrow we're going with Slice Serve Mastery, day number 5. Pretty cool. So we'll see you then. Don't forget to use your video ask. Do not forget to use your video ask. I'm here to help you. I'm here to coach you. Let's go. Awesome day of practice.